Her analysis is why we lost the Evergreen account. Victor's words cut across the conference room as I paused at the threshold. The meeting had started 30 minutes early. No one had notified me. Again, 12 faces turned toward me, expressions ranging from pity to contempt. My colleagues, arranged in a perfect horseshoe around the presentation screen, had apparently been discussing my performance. Without me present, Victor continued as if I weren't standing there. Nora simply doesn't understand our market positioning. The numbers she provided were misaligned with client expectations. The numbers that were exactly what our client had requested. The numbers I'd stayed until 3 a.m. calculating while Victor was at his club. I took my seat silently at the far end of the table, away from the water pitcher, notepads, or anyone who might acknowledge me. This was the final evidence I needed. Before I tell you how I transformed from the woman they believed they could erase into the owner of their professional futures, could you take a moment to imagine being in that room? The crushing weight of public humiliation, the burning resolve to prove your worth, these are emotions we've all felt. If you've ever been underestimated or overlooked, this story might feel familiar. Stay with me to the end, because what happened next changed not just my life, but an entire industry's understanding of power. My name is Nora, not Nora with the Ivy League education or family connections, just Nora who grew up watching her mother clean other people's homes, who won a partial scholarship to State University, who graduated top of her class while working 2 jobs. The woman who entered the investment world because numbers made sense when people didn't. Numbers didn't care about your accent, your wardrobe budget, or whether you belonged to the right clubs. I joined Keystone Investment Group 5 years ago as a junior analyst. My colleagues called me detail-oriented and supportive in performance reviews, words that sound like compliments but actually mean, we'll do the tedious work we don't want to do. Within 6 months, I realized the unwritten hierarchy. Ideas from men like Victor and Emmett became strategies. Identical ideas from women like me became interesting suggestions to consider later. I watched my male counterparts advance while my path remained static. They received bonuses for presentations built on my research. They closed deals using projections I had calculated. They attended exclusive client dinners while I received meeting notes to keep me in the loop. For 3 years, I played their game. I smiled at inappropriate jokes. I accepted late meeting invitations. I prepared briefings for others to present. I became the office ghost, present but unseen, heard but unacknowledged. But while they underestimated me, I studied them. I learned that Victor took credit for work he didn't understand, that Emmett made promises to clients our firm couldn't keep, that Harriet allied with whoever had the most power in any given meeting, that Dimitri had brilliant analytical skills but lacked the courage to challenge consensus. More importantly, I identified gaps in our investment strategy, emerging markets they dismissed as too unpredictable, sustainability startups they labeled too idealistic, women-led companies they overlooked entirely. I documented every missed opportunity, every flawed analysis, every time they rejected my recommendations only to implement watered-down versions months later. Then I began building something of my own. It started small, a separate investment account with my modest savings, research conducted during lunch breaks and late evenings, connections made through online forums instead of golf courses. I focused on companies they would never notice. A women-led water purification startup in Chennai, a sustainable packaging manufacturer in Medellin, a revolutionary battery technology developed by a team of female engineers our firm had explicitly rejected for funding. My first independent investment tripled in 8 months. I reinvested the returns and added 2 more companies to my portfolio. By year 2 of my parallel career, I had outperformed Keystone's official returns by 17%. Not that anyone at work would know. At Keystone, I remained the reliable background player, the one who corrected others' spreadsheet errors without mentioning them, the one who stayed late to prepare materials for meetings I wouldn't be invited to attend, the one whose ideas were dismissed in group settings only to resurface in strategy documents with someone else's name attached. Your problem, Nora, Victor told me during my 4th-year review, is that you lack vision. You're too focused on details to see the big picture. This, From the man who had rejected my proposal to invest in renewable energy startups 6 months before a major market shift made them the year's best performing sector. I nodded politely and accepted my 2% raise while my male counterparts received 15% and promotions. That evening, I finalized the paperwork on my largest independent investment to date, a significant minority stake in a promising tech manufacturer called Helios Systems. Helios specialized in advanced solar integration technology, and their innovation pipeline was remarkable. But they struggled with scaling production and had management conflicts that prevented them from reaching their potential. Their parent company, Meridia Technologies, was publicly considering spinning them off or selling them entirely. This was exactly the type of opportunity I had trained myself to recognize. A diamond with fixable flaws that my colleagues at Keystone couldn't see past their biases to evaluate properly. When Keystone surprisingly took on Helios as a client 3 months later, I was initially concerned about conflicts of interest. Then I realized no one had bothered to check who owned shares in their parent company. To my colleagues, I was invisible, and so were my investments. I was assigned to the Helios account as a supporting analyst, reporting to Emmett, who had been promoted to lead the relationship. He immediately restricted my access to client meetings, claiming my presentation style lacked the polish Helios executives would expect. The real reason became clear when I reviewed his preliminary strategy. He planned to recommend breaking up Helios and selling its intellectual property, a move that would generate quick fees for Keystone but destroy the company's long-term value and eliminate hundreds of jobs. I prepared a comprehensive alternative analysis showing how Helios could become industry-leading within 3 years, through targeted investment in their production capabilities and resolution of their management structure. I sent it to Emmett, Victor, and the strategy team. The response came swiftly. I was called to Victor's office the next morning. "This is completely off base," he said, flicking my report across his desk without looking at me. "You've wasted valuable time on an approach we would never present to the client. But the numbers support whatever narrative we decide they support." Victor interrupted. "Emmett has already begun discussions with Helios about our asset liquidation strategy. Your interference is inappropriate and, frankly, concerning from a performance perspective." That afternoon, I received an email informing me I was being placed on a 2-week administrative leave for strategy realignment training. In corporate speak, this was the first formal step toward termination. They thought they were punishing me. In reality, they gave me exactly what I needed: time. During those 2 weeks, I made exactly 27 calls to investors I had cultivated relationships with over the past 3 years. People who had seen the returns on my independent portfolio. People who, unlike my colleagues, recognized my analytical abilities and strategic vision. Meridia Technologies is undervalued by approximately 43% based on their intellectual property alone, I explained to Lisbeth, the founder of a women-focused investment collective. Their management is weak, but their subsidiary Helios has revolutionary technology that could transform residential solar implementation. Within 10 days, I had secured enough commitment for a controlling stake in Meridia. Working through a private holding company I had established the previous year, we made our move quickly and quietly. The beauty of corporate acquisitions is that they happen largely beyond public view until they're complete. By the time I returned from my administrative leave, the paperwork was being finalized. My investors trusted my vision for the company and agreed to keep my identity as the architect of the acquisition confidential. At Keystone, I found my security badge had been deactivated. I waited in the lobby for 20 minutes before someone from HR appeared to escort me upstairs. "There's been a misunderstanding," she said awkwardly. "Your administrative leave has been extended indefinitely while we reassess your role." I nodded calmly. "I understand. I'll need to collect my personal items." Victor intercepted us at my desk. "That won't be necessary," he said, handing me a small cardboard box. "We've packed everything up for you." The box contained my coffee mug, a framed photo of my mother, and a dead plant they had apparently neglected to water during my absence. "You'll be paid through the end of the month," he added, not quite meeting my eyes. "We think it's best for everyone if we make a clean break." I accepted the box with steady hands. May I ask what happened with the Helios account? Victor's expression flickered with something between annoyance and shame. That's no longer your concern. Of course, I replied, though I'd be interested to know if they accepted the asset liquidation strategy. There have been some complications with the client, he admitted reluctantly. Nothing we can't handle. Those complications were, of course, my doing. The moment my investor group gained control of Meridia, we had instructed Helios management to reevaluate all their external consulting relationships. Keystone's contract was placed under review, and their meetings with Helios executives were temporarily paused. I left Keystone that day with my small box of belongings, officially unemployed. None of my former colleagues bothered to send a farewell message or connect on professional networks. I had been erased from their world. For the next month, I worked from my apartment, directing the restructuring of Meridia and Helios through my holding company. We replaced 3 key executives, implemented a new production scaling strategy, and secured additional funding for their most promising technology patents. The companies thrived under the new direction. Production efficiency increased by 34% in the first month. Employee satisfaction scores rose as we implemented better benefits and eliminated the toxic management practices that had been holding them back. Then came the moment that would bring everything full circle. Helios decided to restart discussions with investment advisory firms to plan their next growth phase. They invited proposals from several firms, including Keystone. Through my position as majority owner of Meridia, I arranged to attend the final presentation dinner as a silent observer. No one at Keystone knew about my connection to their now revitalized client. They believed I was still job hunting, my career damaged by my failure with the Helios account. The executive team at Helios played their part perfectly. They invited Keystone to present their new strategy, undoubtedly revised after the ownership change, at an exclusive dinner at the Aurelian, the most prestigious restaurant in the financial district. The same restaurant where, 1 year earlier, I had been told my presence wasn't necessary at a client dinner. Keystone sent their full senior team, Victor, Emmett, Harriet, Dimitri, and Talia. They were instructed to also bring the analyst who had originally worked on the Helios account, me, as the client specifically requested, continuity from previous discussions. Victor called me himself, his voice strained with artificial warmth. Nora, we may have been hasty in our personnel decisions. Helios has specifically asked for you to attend their strategy dinner. We're prepared to offer you your position back, with a small adjustment to your compensation, of course. Of course, I echoed, allowing just enough eagerness in my voice. I would be happy to attend. Excellent. Though I should mention, your role will be primarily observational. Emmett will lead the presentation. I understand completely. The stage was set. If you're still with me, I want to thank you for listening to my story so far. What happens next changed not just my career, but how an entire industry viewed women in finance. If you've ever been underestimated or pushed aside, I hope you'll stay for the conclusion, because sometimes justice arrives in ways no one expects. Take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories of resilience and righteous comebacks. The most powerful moment is still to come. I arrived at the Aurelian 30 minutes early and was escorted to a private dining area with panoramic views of the city skyline. The table was set for 12 Helios executives, their new management team, and the Keystone contingent. The Helios CEO, Paloma, greeted me with a knowing smile. We had spent hours discussing the company's future over the past month, though no one at Keystone knew this. You're early, she noted, loud enough for the servers to hear. Are you nervous about the presentation? I returned her smile. Just prepared. She showed me to my assigned seat, at the far end of the table, naturally. The place card read, Nora Analyst. No last name, unlike the cards for Victor and the others, which included their full titles. Is this arrangement acceptable? Paloma asked, her eyes twinkling. Perfect, I replied. The Keystone team arrived as a unit, laughing at some private joke. Victor led the procession, followed by Emmett carrying presentation materials, then Harriet, Dimitri, and Talia. They faltered momentarily upon seeing me already seated, then recovered with professional smiles. Nora? Victor acknowledged with a curt nod before turning his full attention to Paloma. Miss Reyes, thank you for this opportunity. We're eager to share our vision for Helios's future. Emmett placed his materials at the center of the table, deliberately avoiding eye contact with me. Harriet and Talia took seats near Victor, while Dimitri, the only one who had occasionally shown me basic courtesy at Keystone, hesitated before taking the seat directly across from mine. "Hi, Nora," he said quietly. "Good to see you back." I thanked him with a genuine smile. Dimitri wasn't cruel like the others, just conflict avoidant to the point of complicity. The remaining seats filled with Helios executives and two people the Keystone team didn't recognize: Lisbeth from my investor, collective, and Marco, the new operations director we had appointed at Meridia. They were introduced simply as advisors. Dinner began with practiced corporate pleasantries. Victor dominated the conversation, speaking about Keystone's visionary approach to investment, while the servers delivered the first course. Emmett occasionally interjected with rehearsed anecdotes about their successes with other clients. Not once did anyone from Keystone address me directly or invite my input. To them, I remained what I had always been: furniture with a pulse, present but irrelevant. Halfway through the main course, Victor signaled to Emmett, who stood to begin their formal presentation. "Before we start," Paloma interrupted, "I'd like to address something important." She turned toward me. "Nora, our team has been curious. What exactly was your role in the original Helios analysis at Keystone?" Every Keystone head swiveled toward me, expressions ranging from confusion to alarm. This deviation from the script was clearly unexpected. Victor jumped in before I could answer. "Nora provided support for our analytical team: basic number crunching, preliminary research, entry-level contributions." "Interesting," Paloma replied, "because we found her original strategy document in the Keystone server files, the one recommending against asset liquidation in favor of technology investment and management restructuring." The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. Victor's expression hardened as he turned to me with unconcealed suspicion. "That document was never meant for client review," he said. "It was an internal exercise only, one that failed to align with our professional standards. Yet it precisely predicted the path we've successfully taken over the past month," Paloma observed, almost as if someone understood our potential better than the strategy Keystone officially proposed. Emmett remained standing, presentation remote clutched in his hand, increasingly uncertain whether to proceed. "Perhaps we should continue with the presentation," Harriet suggested smoothly. "We can discuss historical documents later." "Actually," said Marco, speaking for the first time, "I think this is relevant to today's discussion." He turned to me. "Nora, would you explain your current relationship with Meridia Technologies?" 5 pairs of Keystone eyes locked onto me. The silence stretched as I carefully folded my napkin and placed it beside my plate. "I led the investment group that acquired controlling interest in Meridia Technologies last month," I said, my voice calm and clear. "We implemented the restructuring strategy I had originally proposed at Keystone, which has resulted in a 34% efficiency increase and a projected 27% revenue growth for the coming quarter." Victor's water glass tipped over, spilling across his presentation notes. No one moved to help him clean it up. "That's impossible," he finally managed. "You don't have the capital or connections for an acquisition of that scale." "I built both over the past 3 years," I replied. "While working at Keystone, I developed an independent investment portfolio that consistently outperformed the firm's returns. That track record attracted partners who recognized value where others couldn't see it." Emmett slowly sank back into his chair, presentation forgotten. Talia's expression shifted from shock to calculation, already adapting to the new power dynamic. Harriet's practiced smile had vanished completely. Dimitri looked at me with something approaching admiration. "You're the investor?" he asked, speaking the question that had rendered the others speechless. I nodded once. "Yes. I acquired the parent corporation last month." Lisbeth, who had been silently observing, now addressed the table. "As part of our investment strategy, we're reevaluating all service provider relationships. Keystone's contract is among those under review." Victor found his voice, though it lacked its usual authority. "This is highly irregular. There are clear conflict of interest concerns that need to be addressed. There certainly were, I agreed. When I was simultaneously employed by Keystone and investing independently in a Keystone client, that conflict no longer exists since my termination. Administrative leave, Victor corrected automatically. The paperwork I received stated termination effective immediately, I replied. But terminology isn't important now. What matters is Helios's future. Paloma nodded. Exactly. And that's why we've invited everyone here tonight, to determine who best understands that future. She signaled to a server, who distributed folders to everyone at the table. The Keystone team opened theirs with visible trepidation. Inside was a detailed organization chart for Meridia Technologies and its subsidiaries, including Helios. My name appeared at the top as chairperson of the investment group that now controlled the company. Below that was a new proposed service provider structure, with Keystone notably absent. This can't be legal, Harriet murmured, flipping through the pages. Every aspect has been reviewed by 3 separate legal teams, Lisbeth assured her. The acquisition was conducted properly through public market purchases. No insider information was used. But she was part of our team, Emmett protested. She had access to our client information. Information I myself developed, I pointed out, and which Keystone rejected and removed me from the account before any acquisition discussions began. Victor stared at me, his expression shifting from disbelief to something resembling respect. You planned this. I recognized an opportunity, I corrected, just as I recognized many opportunities that Keystone dismissed because they came from someone you underestimated. I turned to the Helios executives. As the new controlling partner in Meridia Technologies, I've been reviewing all subsidiary relationships. While I believe Helios has extraordinary potential, I have concerns about continuing with investment advisors who failed to see that potential initially. We've revised our analysis, Victor said quickly. Our new presentation will show. Your new presentation, I interrupted gently, incorporates all the elements of my original strategy that you rejected, the strategy that led me to acquire the company in the first place. The Keystone team exchanged glances, collectively realizing their position. What happens now? Dimitri asked. I turned to the final page in the folder. I'm proposing a restructuring of our advisory relationships. Keystone's contract will not be renewed as currently constituted. Victor's face flushed with anger. This is retribution, unprofessional and petty. This is business, I corrected, based on performance and merit. I stood, commanding the attention of the room without raising my voice. However, I believe in recognizing individual talent. Therefore, I'm extending offers to specific Keystone team members to join Meridia's internal strategy division. I looked directly at Dimitri. Your analytical skills are exceptional, though often overshadowed. We would value your contribution. His eyes widened with surprise and hope. Also, I continued, Talia's marketing expertise would be an asset as we reposition Helios in the renewable energy sector. Talia sat straighter, a small smile forming. You're poaching our team? Victor demanded. I'm offering opportunities based on individual merit, I replied. The same opportunity I was never given at Keystone. I turned back to the table. Those who join us will be evaluated solely on their contributions, not their connections or conformity. Those who don't will need to find other clients to replace the Meridia portfolio. The significance wasn't lost on anyone. Meridia represented nearly 20% of Keystone's current revenue. Its loss would affect bonuses, promotions, and possibly trigger layoffs. You can't just dismantle professional relationships built over years because of personal grievances, Harriet argued. I'm not, I said. I'm making decisions based on demonstrated performance and alignment with our corporate values. One of which is recognizing the contributions of every team member, regardless of gender, background, or political connections. I closed my folder and addressed the Helios executives. Thank you for hosting this dinner. I believe we've clarified the path forward. Unless there are questions, I suggest we conclude the business portion of the evening and enjoy dessert. Paloma nodded approvingly. An excellent suggestion. As servers cleared dinner plates and brought dessert menus, the atmosphere shifted. The Keystone team huddled at their end of the table, speaking in urgent whispers. Harriet was already on her phone beneath the table, likely warning Keystone leadership about the disaster unfolding. Dimitri moved to the empty seat beside me. "Did you mean it?" he asked quietly. "About the position?" "Every word," I confirmed. "You have real talent, Dimitri. You just need an environment where it's recognized. Why offer anything to any of us after how you were treated?" I considered his question carefully. Because success isn't about retribution. It's about building something better. The people who can contribute to that vision deserve the chance, regardless of their past associations. He nodded slowly. "I'll need to think about it, but thank you for seeing something in me." That's all any of us want, isn't it? To be truly seen. Across the table, Victor had recovered enough to attempt damage control. He was speaking earnestly to Paloma, who listened with polite attention while occasionally glancing my way with subtle amusement. When dessert concluded, people began gathering their belongings. The Keystone team moved as a unit toward the exit, their earlier confidence replaced by stunned uncertainty. Only Dimitri and Talia lingered, exchanging contact information with Marco for follow-up discussions. Victor paused at my chair on his way out. "This isn't over," he said quietly. "You're right," I agreed. "It's just beginning." After they left, Paloma raised her glass toward me, to seeing potential where others don't. "And to patience?" Lisbeth added with a smile. "The most underrated weapon in business." I raised my glass with them, feeling neither triumph nor bitterness, only the steady satisfaction of finally being in a position to create the change I had always envisioned. The following Monday, I arrived at Meridia's headquarters for my first official day as chairperson. My office overlooked the city, including the building where Keystone occupied 3 floors. From that height, it looked small. My assistant, I still found that concept surprising, informed me that Dimitri and Talia had both accepted positions with our team. Victor had called twice, first to threaten legal action, then to explore collaborative solutions. Harriet had already reached out to several Meridia board members, attempting to circumvent my authority. None of it concerned me. My position was secure, my strategy sound, and my focus clear. Over the next 6 months, we transformed Helios from a struggling subsidiary into Meridia's flagship division. Our solar integration technology became the industry standard, and our market valuation tripled. The management structure I implemented fostered innovation while eliminating the toxic culture that had previously limited growth. I established a mentorship program specifically for employees from non-traditional backgrounds. People whose ideas might have been overlooked in conventional corporate environments found in Meridia a place where merit truly mattered. Dimitri thrived as our head of analytical strategy, his confidence growing as his insights were recognized and implemented. Talia revolutionized our market positioning, earning the promotion she had been denied at Keystone. As for the others, Victor eventually left Keystone after their client base continued to erode. Emmett remained, though with diminished status. Harriet adapted as she always did, aligning herself with Keystone's new leadership. When Meridia went public 18 months after my acquisition, my initial investment multiplied 30-fold. The financial press called it the most surprising success story in renewable energy investment. They profiled me as a visionary outsider who saw opportunity where established firms saw only risk. Only those who had been in that dinner room knew the full truth, that success is sometimes the best response to being underestimated. I keep no mementos from my time at Keystone. No bitter reminders, no trophies of revenge. Just the small plant they had left to die on my desk, now flourishing in my office window, proof that with proper care and environment, growth is always possible. The only revenge worth having isn't making others smaller. It's becoming so much more than they believed you could be. Have you ever been in a situation where someone underestimated your abilities or dismissed your ideas? Did you find a way to prove your worth? Or are you still looking for that moment of recognition? Share your experience in the comments below. I read every single one. Your story might inspire someone else who's currently feeling overlooked or undervalued. If this journey of overcoming professional dismissal resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We share stories of resilience and transformation that can help you navigate your own challenges. Remember, Sometimes the person others fail to see becomes the one they can't ignore. Until next time, this is Nora, reminding you that the best view comes after the hardest climb.